You're listening to the Reflective Teacher Podcast, and this is episode number 14. I'm Selena Woodward, and I'm an English and drama teacher, university lecturer, and with edufolios.org, a big-time reflective practitioner. So how can reflective practice help you grow your teaching skills, fall in love with your profession all over again, and help you nail accreditation and teacher registration with less stress and less work? Well, this is the Reflective Teacher Podcast. Hey everybody, it's that time again. It's Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. And we are talking about reflective practice. Today, I really want to focus on mentoring. Many of us are in the position of having a pre-service teacher to mentor, or are a pre-service teacher ourselves who are on practicum at the moment, or maybe you just have a more informal mentoring relationship with other educators and you like to support each other and grow. There is definitely a really important role there, whether you are a pre-service teacher or have been teaching for a million years. Now, mentoring though, can sometimes be seen as a bit of a one-way street. Let's be honest. Some of us as mentors may not open up to the idea that we have just as much to learn as the person we are mentoring, which is always interesting because users of Edufolios generally understand that they are the chief learner in any situation where they're teaching somebody something. And I want us to take the idea of the chief learner and place it in the context of a mentorship relationship, because it's really important to recognize that you are both chief learners. Your pre-service teacher or colleague is learning about developing their skills whilst you are learning about mentoring and the best way to connect with this person. You may also learn something about teaching from this person, because you may observe something that you hadn't seen or considered before that might help you to grow your own practice. Now, you will be doing this perhaps at different levels or career stages, but you both need and want to get something out of this, okay? And obviously, at Edufolios, we can help with that. We have collaborate features in the back end that would allow you to collaborate back and forth with each other, which can be super handy because you can evidence each other and say, oh my goodness, what you said was so amazing. Look at the impact you have had using our product, of course. But I want you to make sure that you acknowledge that you are going to learn just as much from the person you're mentoring as they are from you. Well, at least that would be the goal. Okay, so make sure that you are connecting and collaborating with one another. I say this because often the person doing the mentoring is at least in that zone of highly accomplished, because they're not just working on the impact on the students in their classroom, but they're impacting a colleague, and in this case, perhaps a pre-service teacher or another teacher that they're working with. They're trying to have an impact on that educator so they can impact on the students that they are working with. So it's important to acknowledge that in that mentoring relationship, you're both going to be working with the focus areas in different career stages with slightly different bits of vocabulary to focus on. Now, remember, if you haven't got into it yet, episode 3, so that's edufolios.org/003, has cracking the focus area code as its topic. And I talk in a lot of detail in there about the language and how that can help you guide those conversations, okay? But graduates, pre-service teachers, make sure that you give your mentor feedback that says, thank you, this had an impact like this, thank you so much. Make sure that you give that back to each other, all right? It's going to help you both when it comes to reaching your goals. When you begin your mentor relationship, I would really love it, in fact, if you could both have a learning goal. Wouldn't that be wonderful if you could level the playing field and each party in the mentorship relationship has a goal? So if I'm the highly accomplished educator who is trying to gather evidence for my portfolio, my goal might be related to Standard 6 and supporting somebody else to develop their skills. It may be that the person I'm mentoring has a particular strength that I can learn from. So personally in my portfolio, the Aboriginal Torres Islander stuff is really lacking in my portfolio. And if I was working with a young graduate who'd recently done a topic in that and wanted to do that with my students, then I know that my students are going to benefit from that, and I'm also going to benefit from that. I'm going to steal all that knowledge and I'm going to use it in the future. Thank you very much, new friend of mine. Okay? Do you see what I'm saying? Now, if you've got an Edufolio, of course, you can both grab your heat maps at this point and you can both look at your particular strengths and goals to have that really confident conversation. But the key thing here is that both of you know what you want to get out of this relationship, and you've laid that on the table. You know, the mentee needs to be able to show where they were at last time and where they want to go now, whether that was last prac or last term's observation. Where were they at and where do they want to go? So if they're in their early career and they're doing their proficiency, their full registration, they may be going, look, this is the impact I'm having and I'm really struggling. I want to increase the impact. I've got to get student A, B, and C over the line. Can you observe me and give me some feedback on that? Now you're mentoring. Okay, but you have a clear goal when you go into that observation. You're both on the level playing field. You both know why you are there. Yeah, you don't want to say it removes any worry about what they might be thinking. All right, because they're focused on this learning goal, right? You're there to support each other. And you might find that they do the same thing back for you. And that's going to create an awesome piece of evidence for both of you. Okay, but you need to know where you were at and where you want to be. And the mentor needs to understand what it is you're hoping to get yourself from a highly accomplished sort of space as well. So both of you, pick a target for both of you. It's important. Okay, so when you're doing that, if you were going to reflect on this, your artifacts might be your prac reports, undergrads, your lesson observations, everybody, a problem that you found that you've reflected on in one of your posts with assessment of people work to demonstrate that. Okay, so have a think about what that might be when you're meeting. Those artifacts to have those conversations would be so powerful. Okay, once that's happened and you've observed and you've got the targets, you need to go and put that into practice, and you need to see what impact that's going to have. And perhaps at this point you invite the mentor to come back and observe again, or to sit with you later and look at the artifacts, you know, the assessment, the work in the book, the final product the students have created that's different to before. And I want you both to be looking over that, looking for the impact for two reasons. The pre-service teacher or the person who asked for the advice in the first place, you need to connect with what you did differently, what went well, and also what your next target would be. And the mentor, you're going to connect with how your advice has impacted on this colleague and what that has led to. And I want you both to celebrate any progress that you can see. Celebrate together with coffee and cupcakes at least. And I want you to keep meeting and sharing your learning together. Mentors, please be open to sharing with your pre-service teacher if you learned something from them. Oh my goodness, I have mentored so many pre-service teachers who have shown me some super cool ideas, because do you know what? They have access to the latest research that I may not have access to. They have got the best minds working with them at university. They are connected to different people. They have different networks. And that means they've always got something to share with me. So look for that and thank each other for that. Keep sharing your learning, and then keep repeating this. Return back to, okay, thanks for that. Here's the impact that it had on me. Now I want to do this. Okay, here's how you do this. Look, thanks for that. Here's the impact that had on me. And you go into this cycle, and as you're doing it, both of you are making some amazing progress. How exciting. Finally, if you are using a digital platform, maybe an Edufolio, maybe not, then one of the hardest pieces of evidence for a highly accomplished or lead practitioner to gather is a testimonial, is those conversations of, oh my goodness, thank you, you said this, I did that, and this is the result. You have impacted on my practice and on the practice and the results of my students by giving me this advice. Here's the evidence. So one of the ways you can support each other is to comment on each other's evidence posts, particularly if you are both working in an online space. go and say lovely things about each other, honest, lovely things, and maybe even prompt each other for targets and moving forward too. Depends on the kind of mentor you are as to how you feel about having your mentee make suggestions. I am always open to suggestion. Always. I always love to learn from others because I am the chief learner in my classroom. And that goes as a chief learner in leadership too. I'm always open to ideas. Even if you're saying thank you, share something that you thought the other person forgot to mention. That's something else, because you might read their post and go, do you know what though? I also saw you do this. And that was fantastic because of blah. Maybe you should write about that as well, because I really strongly think that was a strength of today. You can really help lift them up, because as educators, isn't that what we're here to do? Aren't we here to help lift up each other, whether that be our students or our colleagues? Well, a mentor-mentee relationship, which involves an e-portfolio, is a beautiful way to lift each other up and to make everybody feel stronger and better and make a massive impact on each other. What do you think? What has your experience been? Have you had a great experience with a mentor where you've had this kind of relationship? If you have, we would love to hear about it. Please comment over on facebook.com/edufolios or use the hashtag Reflectionist to share with us your thoughts on today's podcast. Maybe even take a photograph of your fabulous podcast or a comment from your mentor or a comment you've made to your mentor and share that with us at hashtag Reflectionist. We always love to hear from you. Thank you for listening this week. I hope these ideas about mentoring have opened a few thoughts, have enlightened a few light bulbs. Here's hoping. Obviously, I will be discussing this a little bit on Facebook Live this week, so make sure you come over to facebook.com/edufolios to join in and ask questions and share your stories. We're always keen to connect with you. Next week, I'm going to be focusing on impact. You hear me say that word so many times across these podcasts, don't you? And that's because impact is the key. It is the key to everything when it comes to reflection in relation to those Australian professional standards for teachers. So we're going to talk about impact next week, and we're going to look at that through the career stages and why it should be the main focus of all that you do when you reflect. So join me next week for the Reflective Teacher podcast. And for now, have a great, happy, reflective, strong mentor relationship. And I'll see you next week.